They called me and they're like, "Hey, we just wanted to inform you that we've decided to go with some other agents and listen to this." And I was like, "No way, that sucks, man. Like, I can't believe it." I hung up the phone. I called Brendan. I'm like, "Hey, we missed out on the deal." And we're like super bummed.
Welcome to the Mountain West Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we have a very, very exciting guest, a person who I have been trying to get on this podcast for what feels like months, and he has rejected us. But finally, we got him to accept. His name is Drew Helm, everybody.
Hi, how's it going?
This is a really cool podcast because I put out a post on X a little bit ago, maybe a month or two ago, and it was about Drew, and it was about this huge deal that Drew completed, $45 million and all this cool stuff. And it got like awesome engagement. I think it got over like 100,000 views or 100,000 views and 1,000 likes. Like, people really loved this story and loved you and loved, you know, what you accomplished. And so we thought, like, let's really delve into it and tell people the whole arc of the deal and like your story, your origin story. You're already super successful. That's the one thing that like I really wanted to emphasize up front. You're 31 years old, but you've already been doing this for a while. You've already been making money. You're already successful. But this was just like a huge deal. Was it your biggest deal ever?
Yeah.
Biggest deal ever.
Biggest deal ever.
So give us an intro. Tell us what's up.
Yeah.
Tell us who you are.
So Drew Helm came over to Mountain West about 3 years ago. Started my career at Marcus and Millichap, straight out of college at BYU. Got the lay of the land there. Learned a lot.
That's a great place, by the way.
Oh, it really was. I highly recommend learning everything you can from there and then moving away as quick as possible.
Well, I don't know about that, but I often say, I don't know if it's joking or serious, but they actually have an incredible rookie program.
Oh my gosh,
Marcus
it's
and
incredible.
Millichap.
Yeah, that's where I learned to, cold call a ton and learned how to have those conversations, and really got my feet wet at Marcus, and then created a good client base and decided it was a good move to come over to Mountain West, and it's been great.
How long did you say you were at Marcus before you jumped?
Yeah, I was at Marcus for 3 years.
Okay, so your first 3 years.
I technically don't even count COVID year. Like, I feel like COVID year didn't count, so we'll say 2 years.
2 years. 2 years. Okay, so you jumped over 2 years. You were already closing deals and making some money.
Yeah.
And how was the transition when you came from Marcus, which is pretty corporate, right? I think we could say that.
Yeah.
And
that's fair.
Was that a little bit of a shell shock?
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. It was a big move. That's all I knew, right? Same with Brendan, my partner. He had been there for 10 years. So we had kind of been indoctrinated and felt like a move wasn't possible. And then talking with you, it became a little bit more possible. Opened the window, opened our eyes to what kind of a culture there could be in a brokerage. At Marcus, great guys over there, really like them, good friends, but the culture doesn't quite fit my style.
What's your style?
Over here, fun. Like, I like to have fun with it. And I think that a lot of the guys over here can do that. Like, they don't take it too seriously. And I think that's a huge...
That's the way to say it. I think you hit it.
Yeah.
People don't take it too seriously. Like, obviously they take working with clients
for sure
and closing deals very seriously, but they don't take like themselves seriously.
No. Yeah. And we can joke around, but when it's time to be serious, we can get the job done. And I like that about Mountain West. It's been a really good fit for us so far.
It's awesome. Okay. So you come over here, you're closing deals, and I mean, how the heck do you get a $45 million deal with an $800,000 commission?
Yeah, I mean,
at 31 years old.
You said it. I think the training at Marcus helped quite a bit, to be honest. Like, we just cold called our butts off, man. And while we were over there, I got introduced to the Cal Ranch guys, the previous owners of Cal Ranch.
Okay. Cal Ranch stores.
Yes. Cal Ranch
Hundreds of stores across the Western U.S.
Yeah. And it was just from cold calling them, seeing if they wanted to do sell leasebacks on some of their properties. I think at the time they had like 20 locations and they owned about 15 of them. And we listed a vacant Shopco out in Chubbuck, Idaho.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, beautiful place. It's in the mall. If you've ever been to the mall in Chubbuck, Idaho, it's the most amazing
Pine Ridge Mall.
It's magical out there. Pretty vacant, pretty dead. But Cow Ranch actually had it's funny because Cow Ranch had a store in that mall. They'd taken over maybe like a Macy's or Dillard's or something like that. And they were just leasing the space, but we were selling the vacant Shopco on the other side of the mall.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with that, it's
like
right by
there's the other side.
Yeah, where there's like a Planet Fitness. It's on the other side, right? So we listed this Shopco, and I was like trying to think through maybe tenants that would want to buy it, and I thought of Cow Ranch because I had conversations with them in prior years. So I called them. I didn't know that their location was on the other side of the mall. I had no idea.
Right. Because you're just calling like crazy.
I was just calling.
Before you finish that story, when you say, I think you said I'm cold calling like crazy, what does that mean? How many cold calls are you putting in on the average day?
On an average day,
I know the answer to this because I see your head down all day long, but
no. So on an average day, when I first started, it was like you hit 250 calls a week, right?
Okay.
You'd connect with maybe at the beginning, you're just cold calling random numbers, trying to find the right number for these people. So you'd end up hitting on maybe 20 of those calls. Maybe 30 on a good week.
When you say hitting, what does that mean?
Getting a hold of them.
Okay.
So getting a hold of the owner.
You got a 10% ratio of actually having a conversation with a real person.
And that's obviously gone up over the years, right? So I've created a database to where now almost every number I have is an accurate number, and that hit base is probably 50% of the calls. So I'll probably do now between 100 and maybe 150 calls a week.
But they're way more targeted.
It's less now, right? Yeah. Because I'm spending more time on the phone. They're way more targeted. And I'm spending time on more deals, right? So the busier I get with other things, I'm spending less time making phone calls, which isn't the best thing in the world. But it also is, it's good, right? I mean, it means that you're doing business, and those cold calls at the beginning of your career paid off.
So if you're making 150 calls a week and you're now at this point, you're actually communicating with a human 50% of the time, what ratio of those deals close?
Probably 1 to 2% of those, right? I mean, we're probably doing investment deals. We're doing probably 10 to 20 deals a year. And I've gotten a lot more targeted, like you said, right? So we've started to target a little bit bigger deals and institutional deals that are 20 million plus, and there's a lot less of them. And so we are doing less deals overall, but the deals are more complicated. And so I don't necessarily track the hit rate as much as I used to, because it's
successful at this point. You're just doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
I just think it's funny because I would have said 1 to 2% before you said 1 to 2%, because that's what I've found in my career too. But I always tell like new rookies that like, hey, you're going to close about 1 to 2% of the cold calls, and you can just kind of see them become sort of,
oh, it's depressing.
Yeah, it's like depressing. You're like, so I want to make 1,000 calls in a month or whatever it is, and I might close 1 to 10 deals or whatever, and you're like, yeah. But your commission is going to be whatever, $10,000 to $50,000 on that deal. On that one deal.
Yeah.
And so how hard will you work for $10,000 to $50,000? And some kind of get it and are like, yeah, no, okay, I'll grind.
Yeah.
And others are like, I'm not. That's
and do you
not
feel
me.
like it's kind of an all or nothing thing, like I do?
Yeah.
Where it's like I either make 200 phone calls and hit that 1%, or I make 100 phone calls and don't hit that 1%. Like I have to get to that the certain call number to hit that 1%,
right,
in order to make enough to support my family or whatever.
And how do you take? I've totally deviated from your story. We'll get back to
your
story.
We'll get back to the story.
But how do you take rejection 99 times out of 100?
That's tough to answer. I think everybody handles it differently. It's definitely not easy for me. You go through your ups and downs. There are times when you're like, I just need to take half a day and like get my mind off of this, right? So it is tough, but you come back the next day, and that's what I learned early on is you've got to just move on, right? You always got to be thinking about the next deal, right? So the next day you come back, it's always like you move on, right? So I benefit because I have like ADHD all the time. I just forget about things easily.
Yeah. Do you actually have ADHD?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a funny side note. I think people with ADHD really thrive in this business.
For sure.
I don't necessarily know why, but
Well, it's funny because like my wife will make fun of me because I can just forget about things, right? Like we have an argument. It's like the next day I'm fine. I've just moved on. I don't think about it. I think a lot of guys are like that, but I think that's helped me in my career, right? Where I've just been able to move on, brush it off. At this point, when I have a bad call, it's almost funny, right? Like I almost enjoy those calls more because it's a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah.
Obviously calling somebody and saying they want to sell I get all fired up, but those calls can be pretty funny.
So you've turned what would generally be negative into a motivational positive.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Tried to.
That's cool.
I don't know if I'm super successful at it yet, but
clearly you are.
Yeah.
So I hijacked your story. Sorry. Go back to the cow ranch.
Yeah.
You were talking about Pine Ridge Mall. You just made contact with the cow ranch guys.
Yeah. So, I didn't know that Cow Ranch was on the opposite side of the mall. I hadn't even looked them up, right? I just had their number. I'd called them in the past. I'd just call them again and say, hey, we have this building for sale in Chubbuck. Wanted to see if you guys are looking in the area, if you guys want to buy a building. And they were like, yes. So they ended up purchasing that building. It was huge. It was like 150,000 square feet, just a massive vacant Shopko. The guy prior had bought it with Shopko in it. They vacated it. It was kind of a sad situation, but we were able to get him a fair price for it with Cow Ranch going in there. And then they filled up some of the vacant space after they went in with, I can't remember who it was, another tenant that they kind of worked closely with. But that's kind of how I made the connection with Cow. The initial connection with Cow Ranch, right? Like I had conversations with them, had rapport with them, but had never done a transaction until then. And then do you want me to keep going with the story?
Yeah.
I can just keep going.
So, I'll interrupt you with my ADHD anytime here.
So, so they, a couple years after that, they ended up selling the business, and the previous business owner retained some of the real estate in it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we got rolling into this. I just kept the relationship with them, called them so many times over the years. I think it was 3-year difference between when we closed that Shopco and we did this Cow Ranch portfolio.
Wow. So you just stayed in contact with them?
Yeah. Put
them in your database.
Call them once a month and just say, hey, are you guys looking to do a sell leaseback or a sell at that point? Because they didn't own the business anymore. And it finally came to a point where they reached out to us to see if we could pitch on the portfolio.
Why do you think they thought of you?
Because I stayed in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I was just calling them all the time. They knew my name. They knew who I was.
I mean, it's kind of, I always tell people like, it's kind of a dumb business. You know what I mean? Like if you boil it down, sure, it's awesome to be a smart guy and whatever. But if you really boil it down, it's just hard work and like repetition just over and over and over and over again. And that's what you did in this instance where you like literally just kept calling them, kept in contact with them. And finally in that moment when the client said, we're going to sell some stuff, the first person that probably popped in their head was Drew Helm. Like, he just called me like 2 weeks ago.
I don't know about that, but maybe.
But
that could be the scenario, right?
But had you never called or you called in frequently or whatever, they would have never thought of you.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just think that's a testament to that consistency, hard work, repetition. It's important.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so they reach out, they say, we want to sell this thing. It's a 10-store portfolio all across the Western U.S., right?
Yeah. Originally, it was actually 9 of their stores, so they own 15 of them. They wanted to sell 9. And so that's kind of how the conversation started and then morphed into 10 eventually down the road.
And you actually, I think this is kind of a cool part of the story too, that I know that you probably wouldn't have mentioned, but you heard about this, you had the phone call, and the next thing you do is you buy plane tickets and you drive all of these locations.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally the next day. So we found out about pitching on this deal on a Monday. We had to pitch by Friday. And so I'm not super familiar with the Arizona market. And so, wanted to familiarize myself with it. And so, and also see the properties, right? And take pictures of them and be able to build out a pretty package. So me and Brendan booked a flight literally right after that call. That same day I called my wife. I was like, hey, I have to go for 2 days out to Arizona.
She's like, sure you do. So sure you do.
Me and Brendan got out there. I don't know. We flew. It was like a early morning flight. Got out there at like 6 a.m. and we were out until probably 10 or 11 touring the sites and driving it. We probably drove, I don't know how many miles. It was like 12 hours in the car.
Wow.
We drove all the way around Arizona. And so, yeah. And then we went from there straight into building the package, talking with you about getting pricing and where pricing expectations may be for this, getting ideas of who might be a buyer or what the profile of the buyer might be like, and then driving up to Idaho and pitching on it.
Another thing you did, which I would venture that most other brokers didn't do or wouldn't do or didn't think about, is you literally went to the client, which was super inconvenient. I mean, you had to drive there. It was 4 hours or whatever. But I do think it's like really important to get FaceTime, especially in today's world where everything is digital and text messages and, whatever, Zoom. I think that face-to-face meeting is so important.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I obviously wasn't at that meeting, but I can only imagine that the client really appreciated that, one, you were there, and two, you literally had visited all of the locations.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were. What did they say?
No,
they
were. They said that, and it felt good to have them show some appreciation for that. They were surprised that we did it. They were shocked. We didn't tell them that we were doing it. We just came into the pitch with pictures of all of them and said we toured every single one of them and had information, insight into the details of each site, right? And they were impressed with it, which was a good feeling, right?
That's
awesome. Well worth it.
So they basically tell you, all right, hey, you got a shot to sell this thing. And when you have that information, like, first of all, you're like, okay, I have a chance to close a $45 million deal here. So you got to be freaking out a little bit because that's a huge deal. Like, what's the next thing you do? How do you game plan that? Who do you reach out to? Do you blast it to the world? Do you sort of target?
Well, the funny thing is, and this, we didn't win the listing.
That's right.
We didn't end up winning the listing.
Yeah.
So we were pitching against, I think there were 3 or 4 other groups of agents.
Yeah. Out of state.
Out
all
of
over
state.
The place.
And so, and I'll just kind of go into it, but we found out we didn't get the listing, which was really disappointing because of all the work we had put in to do it. And so
they actually ended up going with somebody else who was in Arizona because the majority of the sites
had done a lot of their leasing.
Yeah.
And sold them a lot
so
of their buildings.
So it made perfect
there.
sense, actually.
Because the majority of them, I think there were 6 or 7 of the sites were in Arizona.
Right.
1 in Utah, 1 in Idaho, or 2 in Idaho.
I mean, the majority of brokers at this point in your shoes are like, okay, I lost. That sucks.
For sure.
On to the next thing.
Yeah. And so they called me. It was, man, I remember that night so clearly. So it was like 9:30 at night. And they called me and they're like, hey, we just wanted to inform you that we've decided to go with some other agents listing this. And I was like, no way, that sucks, man. Like, I can't believe it. I hung up the phone. I called Brendan. I'm like, hey, we missed out on the deal. And we're like super bummed. And so I'm just like pacing in my basement. I literally was pacing my basement. And I'm like, for like 30 minutes, I end up calling the sellers back. And I'm like, hey, like, how soon are you guys going to list this thing? And they're like, probably going to sign the listing agreement tomorrow. I'm like, just give me 24 hours. I'll find you an offer. And so,
which is a crazy thing to say, by the way. It's crazy. The confidence.
I didn't have any buyers for this thing. I was just like, just give me 24 hours and I will work my A off to freaking find a buyer for you. Just give me a shot at it.
The confidence to say something like that, because they'll probably give you 24 hours.
I didn't need 24 hours. I ended up getting a buyer that night. We signed an LOI with a buyer that I had some conversations with prior about some other deals. They signed over an LOI that night for $45 million.
Incredible.
And so that's not who ended up doing the deal, but it bought us some time.
Yep.
So they saw that we were real and that we could find them a buyer. And I'm sorry for the Arizona agents, but they decided not to even list it with anybody and to let everybody go out
because of you.
Yeah.
Because of your actions.
Yeah.
And so the end of that story is the first buyer doesn't take it. They fall out. Again, you're rejected. You're brutalized. You're dejected.
Yeah.
And what do?
I went out and found another buyer.
You turned around and just started doing the same thing all over again.
I think I had, so we had it under LOI with this buyer, right, for about 3 weeks. And the buyer was just dragging their feet on a PSA. But that I knew that they were dragging their feet, and I had a sense that they wouldn't be able to do this deal, but this was just time for me, right? So I took those 3 weeks and just cold called like crazy. I called every buyer in the nation that could possibly have any interest in a deal like this. I talked to pretty much every buyer that I felt like would be a good fit for it. And at the end of the 3 weeks, that original buyer fell through, and we were able to insert another buyer pretty instantly at the same price point. It was pretty amazing.
So you flash forward, you close the deal, which always for me, it's kind of funny, but it's kind of anticlimactic, at least for me.
No, it is.
Like you close a big deal and there's so much anticipation, you're so excited about it, and you're so pumped that you could do this thing for your clients, and everyone's happy and everyone's excited, and then you close it. It's kind of like it's a little bit of like a deflating feeling, like you're off the high a little bit, and at least for me it is. I don't know.
No, for sure.
And so, but what do you feel like in that moment? Like you close a $45 million deal, you've taken care of clients, an $800,000 check comes into the brokerage after closing. Like what goes through your head? Is that the biggest fee you've ever had?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, what are you thinking at that
huge
point?
Man, I don't think I was like that excited. And you probably get the same feeling where it's like on to the next one, right? Like I've got to start thinking about the next deal because now I'm unemployed.
Yeah.
I don't have a job anymore. So
what have I done today?
Yeah, exactly. So you're like, dang, like you spent so much time on that deal. It's taken away from being able to do other deals, right?
Yeah.
Not completely, but sorta. And so you're jobless.
You said something really interesting there that a lot of people don't realize, a lot of brokers don't realize. When you're working on a huge deal, like a whale like this, there's a certain point of no return where it becomes really dangerous as a broker, because you have this huge fee, which, you're so excited to get, but then you've put so much time into that one deal that at a certain point, that deal has to close. And it's almost like, I'm not saying that your time was equivalent to $800,000, but at a certain point, you've put hundreds of hours into this deal. This deal has to close, because if it doesn't close, you're out that fee, and you are out hundreds of hours of time that you'll never get back.
For sure.
And so it's
that's the tough part with those bigger deals.
Dangerous.
And that's what we kind of learned. It's like it's not like you don't lose that much time to where it's completely destroying your business, but there is a mental part of it, right? That takes up a lot of the space in your mind, to where it pulls you away from doing other things, even if it's not like actual physical work. And so when something like that closes, it's just like, you obviously get anxiety because you're like next deal, but you also just so relieved.
Check like that hits your account
because you can focus on other things.
What do you do?
Save it.
Do you? Do you?
Yeah, I mean, you always like put it in your investment accounts and set aside taxes and whatever you're wanting to do. But I think at this point where like a big deal comes through like that early in my career, I'm like, this could set me up for to have that comfort going into an uneasy market. And so, it's just holding on to it. There's a few, obviously I went out and I actually got a robo vacuum. Have you seen those? So I spent $1,300 on a robot vacuum.
What is a robo vacuum?
Yeah. Have you heard of Robo Rock?
No.
So I'm way into like looking at these things. So
right now in your house.
Oh, in my house, I can do it on my phone. I could turn it on right now. I could show you the camera. There's a camera on it. You can I'm way into these. Don't even get me started on robot vacuums, man.
Someone told me a long time ago, when you close one of my mentors said, when you close a big fee, whatever that means for any given person, take 10% of it and and just blow it on
Yeah.
on a robo vacuum.
Mine wasn't quite 10%, but
To kind of get it. Well,
yeah.
not on this deal, not on this deal, but like on a
on a normal deal, yeah. I was
Yeah.
always told that
Yeah,
starting off.
kind of like gets the bug out of you or
I'm trying to
whatever.
think if I got I think my wife bought something too, but it wasn't like crazy.
Does it give you confidence moving forward that like I just closed a huge deal, one of the biggest deals? I mean, we're in Utah, and so you're in New York or Chicago or LA, like a $45 million
right?
deal. These guys do it all the time. In Utah, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 $50 million deals a year. There's maybe a $100 million deal once every 1 to 3 years. And so, those don't come by very often. So do you feel like, hey, I have the confidence now. I can close anything I want. I can call anybody I want. I mean, you already had that anyway, I guess. But for me, that would give me a lot of
I've always
confidence.
had that like dumb confidence
Yeah.
in this job. And that may be because I'm just dumb, but I have always I don't think much has changed. Obviously, I can go into a meeting and say we've done a deal this size and that can add value, but I've never been scared of calling the big guys. And yeah, like I said, it could be out of stupidity, but it's so far worked out for me. I've never been called out for being dumb, calling them. So, and I think they appreciate it, right? So, but to answer your question, no, like I don't think much has changed other than it shows up on my portfolio of sales, right? But yeah, no.
That makes sense. I mean, it's just a.
Do you see like a different light in me when I'm walking around the office? Do you feel like there's a difference?
No, I don't actually. I don't. You're the exact.
I mean, I kinda
you're the
like
exact same. I mean, I think as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, the day after you closed it, you were in your office first thing in the morning calling again.
Yeah.
On whatever. And it's funny because the other thing I always say to people is the 2 most important days of a broker's career are the day after you just get destroyed on a deal. A deal falls out of contract and it just crushes your soul. Do you show up to work the next morning and just grind again? And then the second thing, which is almost more important, is what happens the day after you do close a huge deal? Do you show up and just grind again? And those 2 things, I really think, predict what a broker is going to be like their entire career and how serious they take it or how they bounce back from failure or how they bounce back from a huge win.
Yeah.
So to your credit, you just nothing changed.
Yeah.
The Tesla showed up into the parking spot, same time every day, just kept doing the same thing.
Yeah. I'll take, if you close a big deal, you got to take like half the day off it usually. That's kind of my thing. But you come back the next day and you're grinding, trying to get another deal going.
What was the biggest takeaway you had from closing a deal that big, or lesson, or what did you learn from that?
I think we kind of touched on it. It's that like you have to persevere, right? It's a numbers game. This business is a numbers game. And if you make your calls and do what you need to do, you're going to have success in it. And I feel like that's pretty proven with everybody in our office that's successful. And that idea was solidified with this deal. Just staying in touch with them, staying in touch with people that tell you no. The ones that tell you no the most are the ones that will most likely sell the soonest, I feel like. So at least that's what I tell my mind when I'm calling through them, right? So I keep calling them and I keep calling them, and at least so that they remember my name when I call, right? Like that's the goal. If I call, I want them to be able to recognize my name and recognize what I do. So
what are you working on now? You got another $50 million deal you're going to tell us about next year?
I mean, me and you are working on a deal. We're doing
are.
a billings deal, trying to figure out a purchase agreement. So
we're almost under contract on a deal. Not $50 million.
Not
but
quite $50 million, but
up there.
It's close,
up
right?
there.
We're up there, 14, 15 million. Yeah, there's a few other deals. I think we've got a few things cooking that I'm hoping that will happen. Working on a deal right now with Kyle under contract. That's a $14 million deal too. That one should close before the end of the year. So there's a few things cooking, and it's just, it's the same old. You have a few deals here and there, and then things just pop up. And I don't know what I'm going to close by the end of the year, but hopefully we'll have a few.
Yeah. I think I forgot to mention at the very beginning, but it's such an inspirational story. You wouldn't describe it that way. I'm describing it that way, but it's so inspirational that there's a guy who we just hired who reached out to us because of the X post that I put out on this deal and on your story. He saw that post and he had followed all of our stuff on social media, but he saw that post and he reached out to me, and I didn't respond to him immediately, but he started calling other people in the company. Like, I just want a job here. I want to be able to work at Newmark Mountain West. I want to be able to do what Drew is doing, whatever he's doing. I want to be able to do what Drew is doing.
Yeah. And he totally can.
Yeah. And I actually told you this story just as we were sitting down off air.
Yeah, I didn't know this.
You haven't met him yet.
I've never even met him.
Yeah.
You said he's upstairs. I haven't.
Yeah.
Man, that's my bad. I should probably introduce myself.
I totally neglected to tell you that story. So anyway, after this or in the next couple of days, I'm going to connect you guys together. But
but that's the amazing thing is like, I'm nothing special, right? Like I think I work hard. I don't feel like I'm necessarily good at this job, right? I think there's plenty of people out there that would be much better at it. I truly think that most people would be better at it than me. It just comes down to putting in the time and making the dials and working hard. So
yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you might be right on all those points you made, but you're working harder than most everybody else. You're making more calls than most everybody else. It's a volume game. It's just about grinding. And on average, you're just grinding harder than almost everybody else. And therefore you're getting looks at these big deals, and you're closing tons of smaller deals too.
Yeah.
I mean, your sweet spot is kind of like that $1 million to $10 million, right?
For
on
sure.
the investment side.
Yeah.
And you're closing those deals all the time. So yeah, you're going to spike a 50 million. You're going to spike a 30 million because you're just doing so much calling and so much canvassing that it's going to happen.
yeah,
And that's the message I would really get out to anyone that's starting in the business, or even an old guy like me. I mean, like I'm being honest with that. You totally inspired me to work even harder than I work, because this is such a great story. I love like that young blood, and I love when a young guy makes money and tons of money, and he has like his first huge big deal that's a life-changing deal. Like, again, you've been making money, but this is a life-changing deal that hasn't changed your life except for the vacuum. But
but it's the same for me, right?
Yeah.
Like I get inspiration from you and from all the other agents that have been doing this business for 20, 25 years, and know how it's done. And so, I mean, you set a good example in the office of working hard and being here and putting in the time and along with that, just being a good dude. I think that's really what it comes down to. People like good people. So
yeah,
I think I've learned that from you guys and appreciate the good example.
awesome. Let's jump to, at the end of every podcast, we like to do trends. And so let's talk a little bit about, because you're an investment broker and obviously a great one, let's talk a little bit about cap rate, what I call cap rate parity, which in other words is there's been a dislocation of cap rate for the last, 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
Meaning buyers want a certain cap rate, sellers want a certain cap rate, and we have just been going like this for 3 years. But you said to me right as we were sitting down, I feel like things are starting to reach a level of parity. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I think that's happening. I think people are getting used to the market. They're understanding that interest rates aren't going to drop drastically. They may come down a little bit, but they're not going to go back to where they were anytime soon, right? And so they've had to come to the realization that pricing needs to meet the market. And it doesn't make sense to do a 4 cap deal with an interest rate at 7%.
Mm-hmm.
And so we feel like people are recognizing that. And if they want to sell their building, They need to be realistic about their pricing. And we feel like that's happening. I don't think we're quite there, right? Like we were prior to the interest rate hikes, but we're much closer than we were even at the beginning of this year by far. Yeah. So
I think that's right. Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. Certainly not like all the way there, but you're starting to see sellers for the first time in a long time and in years that are calling. I actually got a text message right as we were sitting down that I was looking at like seconds before we started from a seller who told me, "Hey, I'm ready to sell this thing. Let's go."
Nice.
And that's a guy I've been working on for 2 or 3 years who has just been telling me, "I'm at a 5 cap, I'm a 5 cap," and I'm like, the market is a 6 1/4. Yeah. And he's like, "I'm not gonna sell for a 6 1/4. I mean, it's the same story we always get, right?" Yeah. But sellers are finally, whether it's pain or whether it's realization or whatever it is, they're finally like, okay, the market is not coming back.
No.
Meaning we are not coming back to a 4 cap or a 5 cap on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Anytime soon, I don't know, maybe ever. No one can predict it.
Right.
But all we can do is meet the market where it is. So anyway.
Yeah, I think that's happening.
That could be good news.
Cross our fingers it gets closer, right? Cross our fingers it gets closer.
Drew Helm, thank you so much. You're an inspiration. So awesome.
Thanks, Chad.
And take care of that vacuum.
Will do. I'll have to get you one for Christmas.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it.
Awesome, dude. That was awesome.
Different settings to where it will vacuum first and then mop, or it will mop. And then you take it back to the station, it cleans the mop pads for you, dries the mop pads, and empties the dustbin. It's incredible.